Now we can move to some kind of general introduction to this blockchain. And whether you have heard or you know some details or not, but this blockchain is something very interesting phenomenon in the area of IT. Some people call it revolutionary. Some people call it disruptive. Some people call it innovative. So everybody is excited. If you do search for blockchain, you will get 300 pages. Everybody is talking about it. Everybody is working on it. Papers, books, incubators, big companies. It's a tsunami. Some people call blockchain the fourth generation of internet. The first generation Windows. The second generation World Wide Web. The third generation mobile. The fourth generation that will revolutionize internet is a blockchain. So everybody is excited. IBM declared that they are reorganizing their company for the future to do only blockchain. Products, services, IBM is becoming a blockchain company. You will see next slide, blockchain of big banks. 40, 50 largest banks created consortium to do blockchain. Have you ever heard big banks jumping early into IT technology? Never. They always join last. Now they are leading. European Central Bank interested. Report of UK government. Report how the technology will go even beyond blockchain. IBM blockchain, banks blockchain, European Commission blockchain, UK government blockchain, banks blockchain consortium. SEC, the most conservative entity in the financial world, they will use blockchain. Credit union, NASDAQ is switching to blockchain. So we all must say, what is this blockchain really? Why? What exactly is this blockchain? So basically this blockchain concept is shaking the world. In my experience, with many people around the world, when it comes to people about blockchain, you can structure people in 3 groups. The first group, 90% of people. Second group, 9% of people. And the third group, 0.9% of people. The first group, 90%, are people who either never heard of blockchain or they have heard the keyword. I've heard, but I have no clue what it is. That's 90% of people. The group of 9% of people, second group, they know more than the keyword. They read some articles, they started their company, they're doing software, they know more than a keyword. This is a group of people who think they know blockchain, but as you will see at the end of my presentation, they don't. They think that blockchain is distributed database. If the blockchain were distributed database used in banks, then IBM installed the blockchain 25 years ago in all our banks. The third group of 0.9% are people who really understand what the blockchain is. So it depends, do you think that you are in the first group or in the second group? I want with this presentation to take you into my third group today. Whether you are in the first group or in the second, or eventually in the third, that depends whether you can answer a couple of simple questions when it comes to blockchain. What is exactly blockchain? Can you tell me? So that's the first question. Blockchain. So what is in the block? Why block? Why blocking? Why? Next, why chain? Why chain? Why? Why not just blocks in the database? Why chain? Why is this revolutionary? We had earlier hardware servers, then we moved them into cloud. It was not revolutionary, it was just change of technology. But here, revolutionary. It will change the world economy, it will change how government govern, it will change how we handle money, it will revolution. So what is so revolutionary? How this blockchain really looks like? Structure, protocols, what is the essence? Why we should use blockchain? And what are significant benefits? If you don't have a clue as the answer to any of these questions, you are in my first group. If you know, oh, I know why we have to use blocks, I know that, and I know why we have to chain them, then you think that you know the blockchain, but I will tell you most probably you don't. And I will answer all other questions here about the blockchain itself. This blockchain as a concept, as the idea, as the approach, is a little bit strange. It is not like you have your hardware, move it into the cloud, so you say, okay. It is by telling you in 15th century the earth is not flat, it's rounded. So if someone would tell you that, you would say, oh, you must be crazy. It's like to tell you, Einstein, you know, the faster you travel, the slower the time. That's exactly the blockchain. Initially, intuitively, it looks very simple. But it has essential philosophy in it, in its approach and so on. So if I would put now the slide of the blockchain and I go with my finger and I say this, this, and this, then I wouldn't give you the essence. So the best to give you the essence and the understanding of this blockchain is to actually give you an example of problems that this blockchain can solve and client-server or any other architecture cannot. So I will start with a small, simple application, and I will go through the sequence of problems, and I will build solutions, and along the way I will actually build my blockchain here. So this application that I will use is actually hypothetical. It's hypothetical, never happened, but bear with me. So here goes this hypothetical scenario. So a couple of weeks back, Seville calls me. She says, Professor, I'm the member of a group here in Stockholm. We meet from time to time and have some workshops. But we would like to organize a small application, which is actually an auction. We would like our members, they develop some software, some of them they have some papers. We would like to put that on auction by our members. Other members come and bid, and then the highest bid, winner, pay, exchange, report. So, Professor, can you do that for our group? Oh, so sure. So I spent a couple of days in my office, and I created a server. So I said, Seville, here is auction server, so you can come and use it. Oh, she said, very good, we will use it. So, group to my server, register, upload report, offer for $100, someone else, bid, 150, sold, 150, report. Simple, works very nicely. So a couple of days later, I call Seville. I say, how is my server doing? She says, it's kind of working. Oh, I said, what do you mean kind of working? Well, we have 3 very serious problems with your server. Oh, I said, simple application. What are the problems? She said, the first problem is the server is very unreliable. It's down all the time, so we cannot use it. Second problem is when it's up, it's so overloaded and slow. You need 15 minutes just to enter transaction. And number 3, by the way, it was hacked. So all our data, auction money, all... I say, Seville, I should look into these problems. So basically, I took these 3 problems, and then I think, what should I do about it? I say, first, server hacked. Sorry, Seville, I'm expert security. So I introduce cryptography, login, strong authentication, certificates, firewall, virus, malware, access control, VPN, strengthened it. So my server became very secure. Then I say about the other 2 problems, but they are basically also simple to solve. Instead of 1 server, I will introduce multiple servers. I will introduce 10. So if one is down, no problem, you transparently connect to the other one. And second, if one is overloaded, then you go to another one. So if I introduce distributed system, I have solved all my problems. But then I realized, wait a second, but my application now here actually will not work because it runs on a single server. So if I have multiple servers, then if you are on one of the servers and you enter your offer, then only people who are at that server, they can see this offer. So basically, I introduced multiple servers, distributed environment. And by the way, I have now restructured the group into subgroups. So one subgroup registered to one server. And by the way, of course, you understand, I had to tune my version 1 of my application now to work in the distributed environment. And this fix or extension is also very easy. You understand that? That is, if you enter here an offer, then this offer must be distributed to other servers, right? That's natural. And if over here you see the offer and you enter the bid, then the bid must be distributed to other servers. So I had to tune a little bit my application. So if someone enters an offer, $100, then the offer must propagate to all servers. And if someone enters the bid, it must propagate to all servers. In other words, it means if there is an update to any of the servers, then this server must distribute to all other servers, whatever the update is. And in our terminology, when one component sends message to multiple components, this is called broadcast protocol. So I said, wait a second, before calling Seville again, I have to tune my application to version 2 so that bids and offers will be distributed. With that, I have solved the problem server down, server overloaded, and also security. So I said, very good. I have actually created an auction ledger. Ledger. Ledger contains offers and bids. And by the way, my ledger is distributed. It is federated because these are individual groups, but they act as a total community. My ledger is synchronized, and my ledger is secure. And it supports broadcast protocol. I was proud of myself. Seville, I solve all your problems. Great, professor. What did you do? I created distributed, federated, synchronized, secure ledger. And by the way, security, so it's private, only your group can use it. supports broadcast protocol. She says, like, sounds a little bit complicated. Are you sure that this really works? So I said, don't worry, you know, it's fantastic. Now system runs smoothly. Very good, very good. She said, okay, now we can continue to use it. You wouldn't believe. 24 hours later, she calls me. What's going on, Seville? She said, you know, Professor, we have a small problem with your system. Oh, what problem? Yes, what's the problem? She said, you would agree that when auction goes, that every next bid should be higher than the previous bid. I said, sure, logical. By the way, Seville, I actually inserted test in my code. So when you say you want to bid, you get currently the highest, and if you put lower, the system will tell you cannot do it because you cannot bid lower than the highest. She said, yes, but that's what we all expect. But in your system, we have auctions where the next bid is lower than previous one. Oh, I said, impossible. She said, check yourself. Okay. So I check here, and I look. And the auction goes. Offer $100, 110, 120, 100. Everything goes nicely. 150. Oh, 145. After 150. But it's impossible. I check my code. My code is checking that the bid must be higher than the previous one. So what's going on? So I'm thinking and beating my head. It's impossible. Then something very interesting I noticed. I noticed that this transaction here, this 140 was entered at 3 o'clock. This was 3:15, and this one was entered 3:15 and 1 second. So I said, how can someone type transaction in 1 second after the previous one? It's impossible to type new bid in 1 second. Oh. Then the light. But sad. But you are running distributed system, not a single user. So what happened is that 2 users logged in simultaneously at 2 servers. And the latest for both of them was 140. So one said 145. Quite valid. The other one, just in a second later over there, said 150. So basically, I have a distributed system. And I have correct local copies of the ledger, but incorrect global ledger. So the problem appears because the system is distributed. And then, when all this is exchanged, then I get invalid sequence. Oh, I say. But here, I have to adjust a little bit my ledger. So according to the rule, that every next transaction should be higher than the previous one. And by the way, every server must independently adjust the copy of the global ledger so that all servers make adjustments in the same way, so that basically all the ledgers on all servers are again synchronized. And this type of independent adjustment of the ledger is called consensus protocol. For me, in this case of auction, the rule of consensus protocol was easy. Just sort transaction in the increasing value of bids. So that was the rule for all servers, and therefore, when I get this case of 2 transactions at 2 different locations hooked to the same previous, how the terminology goes is, I have in my ledger, I have a fork. And I cannot live with the fork. My ledger must be linear structure and must be the same at all servers. So I had to fix my software. So I introduced consensus. For other applications for which we don't have time, this consensus is not so simple. Because here the rule is simple, increasing value. But there are much more complicated applications. So consensus protocol in a distributed environment can be very tricky. So now it means that I have to take this branch, 140, 145, and then append the next one so that I'm getting ledger linear and fully synchronized. But I had to update my ledger with consensus protocol. Now I'm okay. Seville, sorry, that was a bug. But now you are okay. This will not happen. Reshuffling. She said, very good. So time goes, couple of days. The call comes. She says, oh, professor, now we have even more serious problem than this shuffling ledger. Oh, I see. What's the problem? Some bits are disappearing. So how is that possible, disappearing, when bit is always added? She said, I don't know. And by the way, professor, you know what? The auction goes, and for some time there is the highest bid, and just to close the auction, this highest bid is removed. And someone else is declared as a winner. Oh, I said, how is it possible? So she said, check yourself. So I checked. So there is an auction. 100, 110, 120, 150. Almost winning bid. But suddenly, this bid, which was 120, suddenly is 151. $1 more than the winning bid. And then my consensus cleaning said, but if the second one is 151, then these here are redundant because they are less than the highest one. Oh, I see. But someone who entered 120, now when he or she sees that 150 is winning, he changed his bid to 151, declared himself a winner. Oh, I see, but someone is cheating here. But security expert, it's easy for me. As you know, you all know Security 101. If you have a data and you want to maintain its integrity, this is called data integrity. And we all know data integrity, easy. I'm teaching that 25 years. You create hash, and by the way, you also sign it. So with the hash, you cannot change it. Oh, I was happy I solved this problem. Almost to call Seville, but then it struck me. But wait a second. But this hashing for data integrity will not work. Why? But 25 years, I was teaching that when we write secure email, and I want to give a chance to my partner to validate that the letter has not been changed, then I create hash and sign, my partner verify. But in that email model, I am nice guy, my partner is nice guy, and the rest of the community are all adversaries. They want to change and screw our email. Here, I am the dirty guy. I am modifying the transaction, and the rest of the community are nice. So the model flipped 180 degrees, and hash didn't work anymore. So I was beating my head what to do, and then I said, I still need hash because with the signature I have guarantees of the source of the transaction. But this cannot be the only hash, because if this is the only hash, then this guy will later modify. So I have to add another hash. But wait a second, but where is this transaction going? It's going into the ledger. Oh, but here is my solution. But the ledger should also create additional hash or take the same hash and also sign it. Oh, I was very happy. So basically, the user signs and the ledger server signs. Solution. Oh, but wait a second. But I need keys here, public-private key. And that means I need certificates. Oh, but I know about certificates. I need PKI. But PKI is a third party with block ledger. There is no third party. It's only two of us. No third party. So how can I handle certificates without CAs and third parties and trust in third parties and all this? So I said, well, you have to design certificate system based on blockchain, community-based distributed certificate system. One of my papers. So I designed blockchain-based PKI without CAs, without any trust, just peer-to-peer. And with that, I have two signatures, and now user cannot modify your transaction. So now my transactions are immutable. They are guaranteed for the content and for the source once they are in the ledger. So my ledger is a resource, archive, storage of guaranteed objects. And you can build a lot of applications on that property. So now I have my ledger with multi-signatures. As I was just to call Seville, she calls me and she said, you know, Professor, we have discovered that you can screw the winner not by modifying your transaction, you can screw it also differently. I say, how? Well, actually, you can insert transaction. You don't have to modify your original. You just insert transaction. Oh, but I was close to the solution. So insert transaction, and basically, I did have already sequencing value. But if I insert transaction, it means that in terms of time, my transaction is not at the end. Time later, after the previous. The time is after the second transaction. So I need reliable time. You cannot modify time when inserting transactions. Reliable time in internet is a routine job. So basically, to prevent insertions, I extended my protocol with reliable time. So you see, now I have a concept of my ledger, which is distributed, federated, synchronized, secure, with permissions, supports broadcast protocol, consensus protocol, multi-party signature protocol, and reliable time. Far away from the concept of distributed databases. So now my ledger was really foolproof. Works fantastic. No modifications. Guaranteed add-on. No forks. Fantastic. So basically, Seville, now you can use my system. Oh, she said, finally, Professor, so many problems. We even lost our confidence in you. So I said, well, let me try. But now I believe almost 100%. I really don't see any problem. I fixed everything. All right? Then I noticed that she told me, Professor, I have some very good news for you. I said, what? Our application became so popular that we are not only using it in our group, it spread worldwide. So we are getting people all over. Oh, I say, fantastic. She said, maybe yes, maybe no. I said, why no? Broad, open environment. But she said, you know, now our ledger became public. public ledger. I say, yes, I will. You know what? Everybody knows that ledgers could be either permissioned or unpermissioned. So far you use permissioned ledger in a closed environment, but now it expanded, so it's unpermissioned. She said, yes, it's great, but we really have a problem. Oh, I said, what's again the problem? She said, you know, it's really not so much about your ledger, but we have a problem to close the transaction. I said, can you explain what is the problem? Well, here is the situation, she said. Someone puts the offer and then bidding. But while we were all with our group, then we all know each other. So someone is paying $150. So very good. So I send you a report, you pay me $150 and everybody happy. But now in the open environment, we are getting some people who say that they will pay $150. We don't know anything about them. Who are they? Are they going to pay? Not pay. So we have now really the situation like the following. The seller says to the buyer, send me $150, then I will send you the report. And the buyer says, oh, send me the report, then I will send you $150. In our terminology, if there is within the group, closed environment, if there is trust, then it doesn't matter who goes first. But if there is no trust, then who goes first is a loser. I said, Seville, I understand your problem and all that, but I don't know what can I do. This is impossible. Who goes first? The loser, in case of cheating. So she said, but you know, Professor, what is the difference between now, our ledger now and earlier? Earlier, we built our application, our transactions based on trust, built in the group. Oh, I said, okay. But now, there is no trust, so the trust disappeared. Oh, I say, yes, I understand that. But she said, but wait a minute. But Professor, you told us that the blockchain doesn't need trust. It can support transactions without any trust into any party. Oh, I said, Seville, yes, you are right. So, Professor, there is no trust, so can you solve our problem? I said, maybe she has some idea. So I said, okay, so she says, like, why don't we use ledger? So I said, let me use the ledger. So I said, how about that the guy uploads into the ledger the report, and she uploads money, and then he downloads money, and she downloads report. So basically, now I said, let me try to use the ledger. He uploads report, she uploads money, then he downloads money, and she downloads a report with a ledger. But I say, wait a minute, don't fool yourself. Because if there is cheating, this still doesn't work. Because he uploads report, she downloads report. It doesn't pay. So just exchanging, not directly, but through the ledger doesn't help. So I say, wait a second, let me see, where is the glitch here? So, seller uploads the report. Buyer uploads payment. Everything goes smoothly and honestly. Seller downloads payment and buyer downloads report. But I said, but wait a minute. But cheating appears if she can download report without previously paying. Oh, so I have here a protocol which has mutual dependency as a sequence of transactions. Oh, now my ledger can synchronize and control that. So the ledger will say, if you upload report, then you, lady, cannot download report until you upload money. Or, for seller, if the lady uploads money, sir, you cannot download money until you upload the report. So now my ledger becomes basically the authority. to enforce transactions that otherwise need trust. Contrary to all other ledgers, those in the second group, people who know what the ledger is, they say ledger is distributed database, and by the way, it has all the transactions, and it basically receives transactions and downloads transactions and then keeps the sequence. But no, you cannot do peer-to-peer transactions in an open environment if the ledger doesn't play active role. So blockchain up and down is not sufficient. Ledger up and down with control is sufficient. So my ledger now must enforce control. What is the control? It's basically agreement between these two. If you pay, I will send you the report. If I pay, you will send me the report. Very good, agreement. So this agreement can be structured as a simple document. We call it smart contract. What is smart in this contract? Contract is who am I, who are you, what is the subject, report, what is the price, see? And there are just two checkboxes. And this smart contract is maintained by the ledger. And then now you understand everything. When I upload, the ledger will tick. But obviously, you cannot download My Lady unless both boxes are ticked. So you say download report, although the guy uploaded, the ledger will say no, because the box is not ticked. So how can I tick the box? The lady says, you upload the money, and then the ledger will tick the box. So tick, tick, download. Document with two check boxes handled by the ledger. So now I have the complete system where even I can do two-party transactions through the ledger, controlling this through the smart contract. Very good. I know that now Seville will be happy. But I'm not happy. Why? Because now my system has a third party. My system is handling storage. I became Dropbox. I became SA Banken. You pay and the bank, I don't want this ledger to be, no, I want peer-to-peer. So I say modification. I generate key, encrypt report, send to her. And then I just put a key in the ledger. And she can, details, she can get the key if she buys it from the ledger with her money. So now my ledger not only handles public key cryptography, you remember my certificates, my ledger now handles also private keys. And if I roll back, as you all know, in order for me to have a certificate, I must have first my identity. So in my design, my secure blockchain ledger is handling blockchain identities that are used for blockchain certificates, that are used for protocols for secret keys, that are used for encrypting of objects over the ledger or peer-to-peer. This is what I call secure ledger. There are some companies who say, I have account, you have account, so they call these accounts smart contract. So if you transfer a couple of virtual currencies from your account to my account, they say money transferred from one contract to another contract. But tomorrow when you read that, you are not in group 2 anymore. You say, who are you fooling? It's just a transfer between two accounts. It's not smart contract because we are now in 0.9% of people. Okay, so now with all of that together, I have the complete system. So now I check myself all of that. very good. Everything covered, secure ledger, peer-to-peer transactions, all kind of applications, everything great. But then I'm facing a little bit of problem how I can call my ledger, because the whole world calls ledgers, you will read in all these reports, ledgers can be either permissioned or unpermissioned. That is open for everybody or restricted. Alternatively called, they can be private or public. But you say, wait a minute, but this what I just explained to you doesn't fit that. Because during auction, my ledger is unpermissioned. Everybody can post and everybody can bid. But once auction is closed, then I have to know who is the partner and authorize transactions and all that together. So for payment, my ledger is permissioned. Oh, so I said to myself a year ago, but sad, there is no permissioned ledger or unpermissioned ledger. Ledger is ledger. There are permissioned applications and transactions, and there are unpermissioned. When I send you email, email is email system. Is it secure email system or not secure? Depends on my email letter. So if I'm using encrypted email with you, then our application is secure. Between two of you, application is not secure, but email system is not secure or not secure. It's email system. So from now on, when someone tells you, oh, I know everything about blockchain ledgers, they can be permissioned, unpermissioned, you can say, okay, you need some time to learn. So, my ledger is not permissioned, is not unpermissioned. It's misconception. My ledger is hybrid. For some applications, if you need security, you can enforce security with your applications. If you don't need, then you run public ledger, but ledger doesn't have anything to permission or unpermissioned. So now you know everything about my ledger. Perfect concept, perfect design, perfect implementation. We are soon as a company releasing this ledger, July, August. So now I say, okay, gentlemen, ladies, thank you for your attention. Are there any questions? Your speaker always says, are there any questions? So I will not say, are there any questions, because I know that there will be immediately avalanche of questions, which I'm immediately getting at this kind of events, immediately when I finish my presentation. So here are the questions. First question. Professor, your title was blockchain. I say, yes. But excuse me, if I understand your presentation here, where are your blocks? Oh, I say, you know what, I'm not using blocks. You are not using blocks? No. But how come the whole world is talking about blocks? Oh, let me explain to you. This concept of blockchain appeared and is used and evolved from the application called Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is one specific application which has one specific solution to prevent modifications of applications. And this specific solution is heavyweight hashing, which needs 10 minutes to produce hash. I have no time, details. Next time I will talk about Bitcoin. So therefore, we cannot afford to create hash for one application every 10 minutes. Even the blocks are too slow. So specific solution for Bitcoin, because of heavyweight hashing, needs to package applications in the block, and then it takes 10 minutes. With me, I don't need blocks, because I am solving the problem of data integrity of applications with multi-signature. Bitcoin, your application will pop up eventually in the block after 10 minutes. In my system, it's instantaneous. So I have instantaneous peer-to-peer system. even for bitcoins. But professor, you also say chain, but you are not chaining anything. Of course I'm not chaining. So how you prevent? But you know that. I prevent, or I enforce sequencing by reliable time. Chaining means that you take hash of one block, include it into another block, and then create hash of that new block, so there is a link between the blocks. In blockchain, everybody said that's perfect because you have sequence. But I say, wait a minute. But if you want to validate this block, what you have to do? Oh, but it's not a problem. You take previous block, create the hash, and see whether the hash is okay, and then hash is okay. Oh, but wait a second, excuse me. But how about this previous block? Oh, but I mean, previous block. Oh, but wait a second, but previous block. A previous block. Answer. You have to talk the complete 20 gigabytes of transactions, because you never know how far I'm doing reliable time. So, professor, you are really not using blockchain? No. I'm using distributed, federated, synchronized, secure ledger, not a blockchain. I'm not packaging into blocks, and I'm not chaining. So no blockchain. Oh, no. Don't ever mention blockchain to people outside, because then you will declare yourself to be in the second group. Excuse me, professor, I have another question. This contract here, I mean, it's just to tick the box. What's smart about it? I agree, nothing smart. Tick this off. What is smart about it? Yeah, but professor, everybody is saying smart contracts. I say, yes, over there, they even say less than what I'm doing. They say if you transfer money from your account to another, we call it smart contracts. So everybody, we are using smart contracts. I say, oh, I'm only using tick the box. Can we do something smart? Oh, we can create smart mobile agents that can march around and fix the blockchain or my ledger, excuse me, using the wrong word. We can use now blockchain without humans. Everybody said machine-to-machine payment. So park the car, there is a meter, right? So today I have to load application. Who is loading application on the smartphone today? Oh, sorry, I mean 5 years from now. Park the car, spend 2 hours in the restaurant, car, drive. The meter fills the car. You parked at 8 o'clock, you left 10 o'clock, blockchain. Why do I need parking application? This morning, I have access card here for metro, some doesn't work, whatever, stick doesn't work. I go to the lady, she said doesn't work. So what should I do? She said, and it was monthly, so I paid a month ago. She said, do you have a receipt? I said, maybe at home. Well, you should go home, you should take receipt, you should take the card, you should go to metro center, and you should come. I say, but excuse me, can you check on the blockchain my payment? She said, what is that? Oh, I say, but your machine to sell cards doesn't use blockchain. That is the future. People are saying this tsunami. All our personal data will be on public blockchain. All our medical data will be on blockchain. All our real estate, do you have a deed for your apartment? Oh, who knows where it is? Do you have your certificate from your high school? Well, of course not. It's on the blockchain. Immutable, secure, verifiable. No trust. So we don't need banks anymore. Pay. Two of us pay. We don't need big servers because all transactions are anonymous. So the big brother is not having any transactions from us. Privacy, anonymity, democracy, storage. That is the reason why the big fat banks jumped in first, not because they are interested. By the way, they are interested to cut off their costs and expenses. They are interested not to be eliminated. Because right now you are running basically your accounts and your virtual currency through the blockchain. So the ledger, no blocks, no chaining, no smart contracts. Permissioned, unpermissioned, obsolete. Blockchain, in fact, should be in quotes. In my first slide, it's no blockchain. And smart contracts are not smart, at least mine. Now I can take questions and post to the blockchain so that everybody can see the question and eventually participate in the discussion. So thank you very much. I hope that now you have a glimpse to say, this really sounds a little bit strange, but keep on reading. Questions? Suggestions? How we make money on Google Home? Here, plenty of money. European Commission wants to establish everybody solar panel, battery. Now in Europe, 30% of this energy comes from households. You can dump that only to the big brother distributor who distributes. They take from you if they want. They take from you when they want. They take from you based on the price they want. If you're a merchant, they are called Visa. They charge you 3% because that's what they want. If you want to be charged 1%, not with Big Brother. You transfer wire between US and Sweden. Swedish bank takes you $40, American bank takes you $40. You transfer money from Europe to Africa, Western Union takes $50. Right now, tick, tick. Wipe out middlemen. Wipe out complex infrastructures. Wipe out trust. Wipe out spying on you. Collecting your data. I cannot say in the presence of Google, why should Google collect advertising fees when they are making money on me? If I don't click, Google will not pay, so why don't they pass to me? So, Mr. Merchant, don't put on Google. Distribute to this community and pay us 10 crowns every time I click on your ad. Peer to peer. So simply to say, there are many new and innovative ideas based on blockchain. In conclusion, read, be informed, think, and jump early into the boat. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Like it is disruptive. Why will the governments allow it? And what cannot they do?
Oh, very good question. You see, very interesting. That's how standard mind works. Why governments are allowing. So I mean, another example equivalent.
The equivalent question is, why cannot they stop it?
Yeah, I can tell you another example, you will understand everything. So I'm in Brussels, and I'm working with the Ministry of Interior, Europol is there, and so on. So they say, Sead, here is this report of European Banking Association. And they say that this Bitcoin and virtual currency is tricky, vulnerable, risky, so we recommend our members' banks not to support it. So, Sead, what do you think of that? I say, but these people, they don't know what they are talking about. Oh, what do you mean? I say, but the system is rolling without them. They are not participating. They are not supporting. They are being bypassed. So don't support. Who cares? The life goes on without them. Oh, they say, really? So what do you suggest? I said they should jump in actively. Governments are actively supporting a report from British government. We will introduce that for our citizens. Social services, things like that. So everybody is on a positive side, taking this idea, infrastructure, etc., as a positive. Better security, faster delivery of services, community-based. The other day, Zuckerberg said we are now building communities. But Bitcoin is already a community, and so on. So there are some advantages to the benefit of the government. But the most important for all of this, including our software, nobody can prevent you to deploy it and users to join and use it. You see this ransom. Everybody is helpless. This is extreme. I personally think that there should be anonymity when you pay me against all these others, because they don't care what we are doing, but illegal transactions should not be anonymous. So therefore, there are benefits for government as well. Another question? Yes?
Yes. Do you have any recommended reading on practical implementation of blockchain?
Yes, there are several. First, Bitcoin. I would recommend that you start with Bitcoin.
Okay. Any specific books or so? Because like
yes. There are 2 or 3 books, but if you you must be very careful. Maybe you can contact me. But there are books that are so deep. That is the 5th reading. So you need a lightweight book. So for instance, Bitcoin. And it's very good to start with Bitcoin because the Bitcoin introduced the original idea. And basically, as the first has some weaknesses, etc. So it's very good to learn that. That's number 1. Number 2, then there are some companies that are heavily funded, millions in the US, and they are launching their own blockchain. So it's also good to visit these companies, and there are some of them that you can try, and so on. And if you want to read and do something really creative beyond the state of the art, then you must contact me, and I will send you some papers from some other authors or whatever. All right. Sorry.
So I understand how Bitcoin keeps the integrity of the ledger.
Yes.
I have never heard about reliable time.
Okay, of course not. That's the first time that I explained to you.
Yeah. So
Because reliable time means that when you click the button to upload the transaction into the ledger, you cannot say yourself what is the time. The ledger itself will determine the time. And by the way, there are worldwide servers run by NIST and on the atomic clock. So you can fetch these couple of servers and you can get exact time, which is considered reliable if it is received from the atomic clock. So if you use that time, then it means that when you click and transaction says that you created it at some time, then everybody will know that that's exactly the time when you create the transaction.
So there is trust in the atomic clock.
Basically, I must be quite clear. Also, I can say about my own implementation. There must be a trust that my software or any other software works as claimed. Because if I say multi-signature in the back, I don't create multi-signature, then you are screwed. So there must be trust in software. But as you know, for software, software is not trust. Software has mechanisms to test. And by the way, there are many initiatives to develop policies to validate protocols. So therefore, you can validate, and then you can convince yourself that this protocol works as claimed most of the time.
So reliable time is a part of BIXsecurity?
Yes, yes, that's my solution. You like it or not like it, very good, because it means that it has some merits. But with this, you don't have to trace back all these at least. So whether it works or not, all my ideas are also very early. I don't know exactly whether they are really all stable.
About to ask same question.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Sorry, say again.
How this blockchain or your solution is different from the trust which is developed by using PGP?
How is this different from some others? I can say all right. Yeah. All right. Let me say first how it's different from some others. Let's say first how it's different from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is 4,000 computers today, and it works, but has many inherent problems. For instance, you can piggyback transaction into the block, and block is 4,000 transactions. So today the fact is, out of 4,000 transactions, there are only so far right now 1,000 payments, and others are garbage. That's a Bitcoin. Works, some problems. There are some companies that declare that they have a blockchain. Doesn't matter names, but one of them was hacked. So what they did, they say they rolled back the chain before the hack. So how can you roll back 4,000 computers? So it means that they are running a server. So now PGP. PGP is also a community, whatever, infrastructure. But PGP, here you, sir, with transacting with me, you have something ledger where you can go and fetch information data so that you can validate peer-to-peer transaction. In PGP, you cannot validate. You must have trust. So that's the essential difference. Here, you don't have trust. You have immutable storage, and you fetch from the storage whatever you need to validate. So I can take this moment to explain why everybody says, many people, that this is revolutionary. It's revolutionary because the blockchain supports pure peer-to-peer transactions without any third party, without any big brother, without any infrastructure, just two of us in the lonely room, and you can still validate transaction. So the essence of blockchain is that it enables validation of peer-to-peer transaction. Now, if you take peer-to-peer transaction and you project that all to Visa, banking, healthcare, government, infrastructures, costs fortune, run fortune, expensive, Visa, vulnerable hackers. Here, it's only two of us and nobody else. So that is the difference. In PGP, you cannot validate. You must trust. But here you don't trust. That's the issue. That's the essence of the protocol.
If I understand correctly, there is protocol for peer-to-peer. What if I have, for example, in your example, seller that sells report to many people? How we do with keys? Is it one encrypted report and have the same key to everybody, or we have many copies?
Yes. You can do it in two ways. That is actually peer-to-peer broadcast. I am broadcasting to the group. There are two ways. You can do it multiple bilateral. Or there is so-called GSA KMP, Group Security Architecture Key Management Protocol. You can generate a group protocol, a group key. Then I encrypt with the group key and send to three of you with the same key. So there are two ways. Two ways. Either treat these people as a group or bilaterally. All right, we can we can have a drink and talk face to face. Yes.
So if I buy a report from someone and I send the money,
Yes.
and the other person sends the report,
Report.
and then that person will get my money, and I get the report, and the report is fake.
And the report is not valid or whatever else. That's actually a very good point, because basically you must also have guarantees, or you must have the way to validate that the report is really the report that you are buying. All right. So therefore, for this blockchain, there is so-called protocol, so-called proof of existence, where when I declare that I have a report, I put the hash of this report into the blockchain today. And then this can be used for claiming that I had this report a year ago, number one. And number two, then, when I receive report from you, then I can create hash and validate against the ledger. Now, you may say, but I can still screw up the report and then create hash and then garbage, all right? This is actually beyond really technology, I must admit, because it's kind of who can validate that this report is whatever. So maybe that for this example that we might need some kind of brokers and so on.
Return policies, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah, something. But you can declare I have report on how to solve some problem, and then people buy, and then inside is a garbage. So yes. Yes.
Like they said, if many entities will have agreement, if the reports didn't validate, it doesn't show up. Like for instance,
Yeah, validation is bilateral. Yes, yes. Many people are now actually this. You screw me with your report. Many people are, and that's also, for instance, in my certificate system. It's so-called community-based. So I declare that you cheated me with the report. So that you will get some kind of a rating. So there is this kind of community protocol, globally speaking, which is also very nicely supported by this global infrastructure. And the question is, what is community and how you build trust of community and things like that. Okay, so as I said in my introduction, I'm sure you will find this interesting and useful for your future, soon, professional activities. All right, good luck to you. Seville, how is my auction working?